Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And today, keeping in the holiday spirit, we're going to be checking out the classic slasher from 1974, Black Christmas, known as one of the first slashers. And it's looked at as the slasher that kicked off movies like Halloween. And I think this even came out before Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When everybody says Halloween is the first slasher, everybody corrects them and says Black Christmas came first. This was a first time watch for me. I've never seen Black Christmas. Honestly, I've tried to watch this movie like 4 times before this time, and it feels like something happens every single time. It was like the universe did not want me to watch this movie. I guess it was the Halloween in me, but literally something would happen, and I would have to go do something or pause the movie, and to the point where I wouldn't remember it whenever I would go back to watch it, and I would have to restart it, and then it would happen again. And it actually literally just happened before I rewatched or before I watched it this time for the first time. I got sick and I literally had to pause the movie and I was sick all night. But finally, I watched it that next night. I have checked this movie off of my list finally. So let's talk about the classic Black Christmas that came out in 1974. So I didn't really know how to go into this movie. I knew it was hailed as a classic. I kind of wanted to really focus in on this movie and see what everybody else sees. Because, like I said, it's held as the first slasher or the first modern slasher that really kicked off the modern 80s slasher craze. And I can definitely see that now. It was a lot more unique than I expected it to be and a lot different than I expected it. So basically, Black Christmas is the story of this sorority house, girl sorority house, and a killer starts to stalk them and pick them off one by one during this Christmas kind of party. I think it's Christmas Eve. A stalker starts to pick them off one by one, and I have to say the killer in this one is actually very creepy. For the first modern slasher, they actually kicked it off pretty well with the uniqueness of the killer. They have these really cool POV shots during the movie that I thought were very strange, but they were also put off like a creepy vibe, and it was very different. It almost looked a little bit modern, but it's an older movie obviously, and I thought that was done really well. Near the end, whenever the killer is not revealed, but kind of revealed, whenever she sees him through the crack of the door, I thought that was like one of the creepiest scenes I've ever seen in a slasher movie. It actually got to me a little bit. There's not much jump scares in this movie, but the just creepiness of the killer stalking and the phone calls are really strange and creepy. And uh, and I guess I forgot to mention, whenever he's stalking these girls, they keep getting these phone calls, and every time they get a little bit longer and a little bit stranger. It's from the killer's name is Billy, and he keeps saying his name, and it almost gives me like a Psycho vibe. I think this movie was based off Ed Gein, just like many other horror movies, and it seems like he's kind of acting like his mother yelling at himself, which obviously gives off Psycho vibes. It just progressively gets really, really creepier and creepier. You have John Saxon in here that plays the lieutenant, and he gets in contact with these girls, and they're trying to locate the position of the call, and uh, that gives off to another really great scene near the end whenever they pinpoint that the call is coming from inside the house, and that just really puts this eeriness to the movie, even though the audience already knows where it's coming from. But they really do it. They do it well to make it really still feel creepy, even though you already know that. There was some pretty good chase scenes. I think the kills were good for it being the first modern slasher. As a really shocking image. Obviously, everybody's seen the main poster of the girl getting suffocated with the bag. That's a very, they keep going back to that shot of the girl sitting by the window, and that's a very shocking death for sure. So just to name off a few of the girls, you have Olivia Hussey and Margaret Kidder, which I know from Amityville Horror, the original Amityville Horror, which I love. I actually didn't realize that she was in this movie, so that was a cool surprise for me. John Saxon, obviously, I already mentioned. He's from Nightmare on Elm Street. That's what I recognize him from. Obviously, he was in this one first. Um, there's a funny character, Barbara, played by Marion Weldman. She was just kind of a funny, kind of feminist character, but she was very goofy, and she kind of ran this sorority house. She was kind of the uh, head of the house, and I thought that was a really funny character. I don't know why. And this movie gives off a really good claustrophobic feel because these girls are sort of, they're not trapped in the house, but it gives a feeling that they are trapped because they have no idea that the killer is in the house with them, but they're getting these calls and they think that they're just being stalked, but they have no idea that the killer is in the house the entire time. So for the audience, it kind of gives that claustrophobic feel that really gives the movie a level of suspense that is really good and really intriguing. Even the most basic scenes where the characters are just talking to each other, you're still kind of on edge because you know the killer is in there with them. So it's a really cool way to give every single scene in that house suspense without even really trying. So I thought that was very uniquely done. And I think the last 35 minutes of this movie was the best part whenever these cops are trying to locate the call and the killer is starting to, has already pretty much picked everybody off. And there's just the one final girl, which ends up being Olivia Hussey. And I think she gives a really good performance for kind of the first final girl. And you get a pretty good chase scene near the end that put me on edge. And for, like I said, the first modern slasher, I think this movie did really good. I definitely see why people look at it as the classic slasher movie and why they have kind of looked to this slasher movie as a footstool to all the other slasher movies. I can definitely see that now. And overall, I thought it was just a very well done slasher movie, and it surprised me. I thought it was going to be a lot goofier than what it ended up being. It started off a little slow for me, but once you get to the middle and definitely the end, it really kicks off, and it is a truly a good slasher flick. So I'm gonna give Black Christmas a 4 stars. At first, I gave it a 3.5, but I think I'm gonna stick with 4 stars. After it sat on me a little bit, it got better and better the more I thought about it, and it's definitely one that I'm gonna rewatch. If not this year, definitely next year during the Christmas season. Overall, I just thought it was a very, very well done slasher movie that was done uniquely and had a truly creepy killer that is very hard to do in slasher movies, but they did it well, mostly because they didn't show the killer much. He's mostly in the shadows, and you don't ever get a clear look at his face. And the ending is really good when on the cliffhanger that he's still in there. And overall, it's just a very, very creepy and suspenseful movie that is really what you want out of a slasher, and that's hard to do in slashers. Most slashers just have the killer with the knife coming after the babysitter, but this one truly did have a level of suspense and creepiness that not a lot of slashers pull off. So 4 stars for Black Christmas. I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think of Black Christmas and if it's a classic in your eyes just as much as mine now. And let's have a conversation down in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.